Yep, we are rolling for yet another fragrance review. Here we have a clone of a popular Jean Paul Gaultier fragrance. The full name, or the company name, is ARMAF, and it's part of the Club de Nuit line. It's alongside the bottle there. And the name of the fragrance is Lionheart Man. So, long story short, Club de Nuit is kind of a line of popular clone fragrances created by ARMAF. I own several already. They do different takes or dupes of popular fragrances, again, like from Creed, some of Jean Paul Gaultier. I own the Mandarin Sky, which is a Jean Paul Gaultier Scandal clone, and this is meant to be a clone or take on Jean Paul Gaultier Elixir. So we'll get on to the price ranges between £30 and £40 for 100ml. That tends to be like the kind of standard pricing for a lot of the ARMAF Club de Nuit line. At least the ARMAF Mandarin Sky, I think, was like £20, but it's just kind of giving you a ballpark figure that for 100ml, a lot of the ARMAF fragrances are affordable. I wouldn't class them as cheap, but at the same time, I would say ARMAF's becoming more popular. Again, I've bought fragrances back in the day, or over a year ago, almost two, where the price has crept up. But then again, you could say the same for most things in life at the moment, that they can be, prices are creeping up. But just to jump the gun in this instance of the £30 or £40, it's well worth it. So the note breakdown, again, it's very similar to the original that it's based on. The top notes are made up of mint and lavender, the middle vanilla and benzoin, and the base is honey, tonka bean and tobacco. And it does tend to be, when people talk about Jean Paul Gaultier Elixir, the original gold version, there is an absolute version, which I'll get onto in another video. But generally speaking, it's them three notes are the most pronounced, and that's what it's known for. And again, I've owned all of, well, not all, but 90% of the Jean Paul Gaultiers over the years. And in my opinion, when I've smelt the Elixir version, it was okay. I do prefer, if I'm not going to do a ranking video or anything, but the older school Jean Paul Gaultiers, like even Le Mal, Ultra Mal, and Le Parfum, tend to be my personal favourites. So this is a twist on that DNA, where you've got that kind of the Jean Paul Gaultier background. I'm talking not just for this clone, but the Elixir version as well, because this is very close to it. Doesn't start off exactly like the Jean Paul Gaultier Elixir, but as it dries down more, it becomes a lot more obvious what it's a clone of. This, I would say, has got like a slight twist at the beginning, but I'll put it on the skin and then finish the review. So it's an EDP as well. I do mention this because, again, they're not always EDPs or parfums. Some of them are EDTs and even colognes. So 3 sprays. Into the arm. So already it's very strong. How it applies to the skin is actually, again, very similar to an EDT. Very dispersive and vibrant and strong, which, again, EDTs, I've mentioned this before, I mention it again because it's worth noting. EDTs, they tend to be very powerful for that first hour or two, and then they almost fade away to nothing. This is very strong. I can't, so much so that I don't want to go in straight away because I'm already detecting it here. I'll be honest, a lot of the Club de Nuit line, and again, this gets spoken about online, they can be very, I wouldn't say synthetic because not all of them are, but like harsh opening, a bit chemically, a bit strong, which makes sense because, again, they're not, the one-to-one takes or clones of the original, but it's more so that over time, of wearing it and the longevity and the performance. In some instances, they can be better than the original. I'm not going to say this is better or worse than the original because I've only smelt it on my skin a few times. I don't own a bottle, so I can't do 100% accuracy, but I know the smell profile. I have had it on my skin before. In terms of performance, at least, I'll do the smell in a minute because, as I say, it's very strong. I don't want to just go in there straight away and blow my head off. The performance is very good. It's like a 7-8 hour on my skin with this. So it's sort of drying down a bit now, so I'll go in a bit closer. So yeah, it's very I don't want to just say minty fresh, but that's how off the top you get that. As that kind of harshness of the mint goes down, it's just like pure lavender, which again is very I would say quite different to the Elixir, which I don't believe it has the lavender as much on the top, or at least it's not as pronounced. With the original, I would say it's a lot more smokier, and the honey sweetness that comes off the top and stays there, and then obviously it dries down a bit more tobacco-y. Well, this version, I would say, is a slightly fresher take. And again, I actually prefer that more. I have plenty of fragrances behind me that are more winter dark based, like for winter time or going out cold weather environments. Where this one, I could say, because of that freshness off the top, it can be more easily worn throughout the year. I'm not going to say this is something you want to hammer on in the summer or really hot weather, but again, it's quite welcome actually, because again, how I see Jean Paul Gaultier in general, a lot of the fragrances, they do have that fresh cleanness and that sort of barbershoppy, soapy, sweet vibes about them, which again, I like in this more than the Elixir actually that it's based on, purely because of that reason. That's just personal preference. It's not that I don't own or like dark, mysterious sort of clubbing smells, but this is like I would say like an all day going out. I wouldn't say it's as limited. That's probably the best way to describe it. It's not as limited as the Elixir in terms of that is pretty much dark, cold weather. Where this again, you can get away with this in the day, you can get away with this earlier in the year wear. So that's, I appreciate that. So yeah, as the mint sort of mint note freshness dries down, you still get that hit of the lavender coming through. So it keeps it fresh and it's pleasant. That tends to be the effervescent note that I get more than any of the others. The lavender is very heavy in this, so if you like lavender, you'll like this. And again, after an hour or two, how it starts to dry down, it becomes, the sweet vanilla comes out more. The actual Jean Paul Gaultier DNA, as I call it, comes out more. So you get that smokiness of the Elixir version. So overall, I'd give it like an 8 out of 10 because the performance is very good. The radiance off the arm is excellent for the first hour and a half. Starts to become more of a skin scent after then. But then what fragrance doesn't? Most fragrances that people talk about being beast mood and all of that, they just judge that off that first 5 minute, initial smell. But this is a very good clone. It's a slightly different take on the Jean Paul Gaultier Elixir DNA in the sense that there's a more of a fresh cleanness at the start, but then when it dries down, it basically becomes the original smoky tobacco, honey, that sort of thing. So I actually quite like it. When I first smelt it, I was like, oh no, this is going to be not a good take on what I was hoping it to be. But as time's gone on, and again, I've had this a few weeks now, so I've worn it several times. I like it. Again, I would recommend it for the price, £30 or £40 for 100ml. If you like the Jean Paul Gaultier Elixir and you want a slightly different take on it, more fresh and clean off the top, but dries down to basically be a like for like with the honey tobacco and the vanilla at the end. Yeah, highly recommended. Nothing really more I can say. So yeah, 8 out of 10 for the Club de Nuit Lionheart Man by ARMAF. And we'll end it there.